Okay. So what I was pointing to there was what did I say? The infinite nature of the flow of inspiration,
Mm.
and that it's like a well that never runs dry, right? Or the example I gave was of that Dr. Seuss book, Bartholomew and his 100 hats, where he would take hat after hat off of his head, but one kept popping on. Like you couldn't ever get through. He couldn't get through all the hats. We could never get through all of the inspiration or fresh ideas or creativity that flows to us. And I like as I was saying that, kind of what I was thinking is sometimes where I get slowed down if I have ideas is I'll think, oh, I may not get another idea. Can I really have all these writing projects, book projects that I want to do. And I never quite get my books written. And I think part of it is, as I was saying that, it's like, oh yeah, I always think, well, gosh, what if I get past chapter 1 and I don't have anything else to say? But really, I don't need to worry about that because the well never runs dry. There's always going to be another hat. We live in this infinite flow.
And to, like we were talking a second ago, it's like that, like when you see how that randomly occurred, if she gave that much of her consideration, we were talking about breathing life into something, you could see how breathing life into what if I only have one chapter, and then all of a sudden you're out of your creative process and you're considering, and now you're in the land of hypothetical, well, then the mind goes to work for you and says, well, makes sense to us on the committee up here that you need to have at least 9 chapters. You need to have an outline. It starts to put kind of limitations or stipulations on your next step, where if we just kind of considered less of those considerations and kind of stayed in the engagement, it's by engaging that more inspiration comes.
One of when you say stay in the engagement, sometimes when I am engaged, I know that I can continue the engagement. It feels like almost indefinitely, like I'm on a high. And I stop that. I mean, and I don't know, I feel like I could just forget the rest of the world and just be in that place until I can no longer be in that place, if that makes any sense. So I don't know if the emphasis on paper and paint and all of that has to do with my fear of getting into that creative place and just staying there, even though I know I can't stay there forever. But sometimes I don't paint because I know I'm not going to want to stop. And I think one of the things that happened when I was in New Mexico, and the reason why I could paint so much is because I was in a space where I didn't have to be concerned about stepping out of that space, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about, Kim mentioned infinite nature of inspiration. I mean, that's kind of what I feel like, but why I'm not doing it is bothersome. It's, I don't know if that, is somebody else coming? I don't know.
I think it might be just us chickens tonight.
Yes, this is wild. This is so unusual, Francis.
It's really unique.
There's a higher hand in this, if you ask me, because this is
I'm not sure I'm making any sense at this point.
You are making beautiful sense. I'm kind of laughing, going, I think there's a conspiring for a double down on Francis.
I love it. I love it.
So Kim, what do you think about, I mean, does that, I'm not sure I'm explaining it in a way that makes sense.
I don't know if I understood it correctly, so you can tell me, but like what I heard
Okay.
you say was like when you get in that flow of creativity, like you don't want it to end.
Right.
Like you want to do that. And so even the thought that, gosh, if I step in, I know I'm not going to want it to end, so I won't step in.
Right.
But
Exactly.
but if you kind of knew that you can step in any time you want, and that, like, again, you're always connected to that inspiration, like you might not worry so much about, oh, it's time to step out, because I can pick back up in an hour or tomorrow, or because we always have it. It's infinite. But I don't know that I understood what you said, but that's sort of
No,
what.
that's exact. No, that you're understanding it exactly correctly.
Yeah. So when we see that it's like that, where we live in a world where we're always in it, and it's just kind of how well we access it, I guess, or how well we see it, or how much fog there is or isn't, then I think we're more likely just to hop in the stream for whatever time we have. And because I think, like, as you're saying it, what hit me again about my writing is I make a rule that, I need to have at least an hour to write.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I almost never have an hour for anything. So then I don't write. Where really, if I had 10 minutes, if I know that inspiration could come through, like, well, then just write for the 10 minutes. And I've been playing with that a little bit with some outlines I'm doing for books. So if I have, 5 or 10 minutes, I just write down what I have. And it's been amazing because I always have stuff to write.
Right.
And then, like, I love what Cherie was saying about engaging with that, because when we engage with that creativity, when we engage with that inspiration, like, it seems to have the effect of multiplying the ideas and the creativity and the quality of the inspiration. Like, it seems to have that magnification.
Yes, right.
That happens as long as we engage, except for writing in particular, like, if you keep it all up in your head, you're not likely to get a lot more ideas. But the minute it goes down on paper, it seems to sort of magnify. Probably the same way with artistic endeavors as well, I would guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Totally, because the mind can only, if we're going to talk about like art supplies, the mind can only use what it's storing in the warehouse. So if we scenarioize the whole creative process just here and never use life in real time, using real things that come together, the word, the pen on the paper, the mark, this or that. If we don't really do it in real time, then to me, it's harder for fresh to come, because this is going to use historic content or what we believe to be true about the world, about what we've known about the creative process for so long, or believe that's how it works. When you have to participate in life in real time, that's where the engaging part comes, to really see what else is possible. Because this is where limitation lives. In engaging, you just kind of keep taking the next step and taking the next step. And more, and that's where the flow of inspiration kind of comes toward you, because you take the next step and then something else occurs to you to do, and you take the next step. Now, you might not get 5 steps ahead, but you'll get 1. And then something else will come. And it might feel like 9 months, but it's just a pause before something else comes. And then something else will come. And then the inspiration's kind of like getting on the dance floor saying, oh, she's here.
Right.
She's showing up. For instance, one thing that occurred to me is in that place where it's like, oh man, if I go to that place that feels so good, I'm not going to come back to my life.
Right.
You know, that's what I kind of,
Yes, that's it.
you know,
That's
it's like, and right there, my mind is making up that this is the only place on the planet that good feeling exists.
Right. Right. And it's like the only place I want to be, because I know that being there, I'm okay.
Right. Right. And to me, the beauty of the creative process is such a laboratory environment to allow that feeling of inspiration to permeate every aspect of your life, not just that one piece of paper, you know, where inspiration comes and then you start to see that the creative process is life. It's not just when I'm here at my table, it is life. And then you start to feel safer being you on the planet in life, because it expands your, and I will use consciousness again. It just expands your whole concept of possibility and reality. And then what happens, Francis, that gets so juicy is that all of those kind of compartmentalized walls that feels like, okay, this is me when I'm in my creative space. This is me when I'm at work. This is me when I'm in front of my mother. This is me when it's like all of a sudden somehow all those, you know, by engaging in a creative process, which, you know, I'm a huge advocate for, all of a sudden, every time you kind of say yes to an inspiration, those walls in between all of those compartments of life start to just get permeable, and then they start to just drop. And then before you know it, you're like, who knew I could be the same person in all those places?
How do I, okay, I'm in this space that feels really good and I don't want to leave it. How do I even begin to expand? I mean, I believe what you say, that all of this can be creative space, you know, but that's not how I experience it. I experience it in this little place that I love, and I just want to be there, but I know I can't. So how do you begin to even make your way expand? Yeah. To move out of, not move out of it completely, but make that more expansive.
Well, and I like the phrase about how could I come from there more often?
Okay.
You know, where that's really your center that you come out, that you move out into the world from. Home base, so to speak. That would be home base.
Right.
How does that become more present that that's home base? And you know, to come back to what Kim said, it's like we start to understand more that something such as inspiration is a default, by default.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so to me, even hearing that inspiration is a default thing. I don't have to worry about having it or getting it or acquiring it or making it happen. That's part of the system. Part of me relaxes, you know? And so it's like through understanding. And so by understanding even that little piece and letting it work its way through you, more freshness, fresh ideas or inspirations, or it kind of opens the gates for more things to occur to you. And then the how, Kim and I kind of say, ooh, well, the how can be so individual for me, for Kim, for Francis. It can be so individual, but the how will show up. And it's like, okay, yeah, but how will I know when it shows up?
Right.
Yeah, somehow it always comes back to that 3-letter word of how, how. And so, for me, this is just my how, what makes sense to me. And I'd love for Kim to share how her how shows up and makes sense to her. My how shows up for me is like, if I just say yes to more things that occur to me. I kind of take that as a tap on the shoulder saying, especially if it's something I just might have a knee-jerk reaction of no to. It's kind of like, oh, that's this answering. And I just kind of treat it as like the invitation's coming from a higher source than and by saying yes to more of that, that's kind of like the point of engagement. And then it surprises me because I always thinks it knows the outcome. Right. Why I'm saying no is because I think I know how it's going to play out. It's like, no, I don't. Okay. So I kind of, for me, that's kind of how looks like for me is engaging versus reacting. Engage, So, but Kim, what about for you?
Yeah. So for me, I think it's a realization that there are some places in my life that I show up really open to inspiration, open to fresh ideas. My coaching is certainly one of those places, in my business and writing and even parenting. And then realizing there are other places in my life where I show up really kind of knowing this person or knowing how this situation is going to be, right? And what I realize is that all that habitual thinking, all my knowing, so to speak, tends to cut me off from inspiration. Okay, so like my relationship for my mom example, like that's a great example of a lot of times I keep a lot of the same old thoughts about her and then wonder why, we don't have a fresh relationship sometimes. But the minute I see through that and I start engaging with her just as a human, not as how I think she is, it's crazy what happens. So then inspiration comes through and we'll have a really deep talk or something like that. And so to me, that's how I take it to other areas. It's just kind of having that realization that we can use inspiration anywhere in life. And the only thing in my mind that ever has us think it's not present is when we get into really habituated thinking. And the minute we see the habituated thinking, we're then a step removed from it. Like we have an awareness, and that can start informing us. So it's just, again, knowing the infinite nature of it and then seeing the only thing that gets in our way. It's kind of simple in a way, I guess.
And where Kim was saying, like the habituated thinking, is that what you called it?
Yeah.
I kind of see that too, but the word for me, and this is how it can be so unique, Francis, like the how, like the habituated nature, her habituated thinking makes sense to her. To me, it's like, I hear it as like, oh, my conditioned self has like another movie playing between me and life all the time. But my conditioned self is just all my thinking that's running between me and life at any moment. And that kind of came to me out of the blue, like, whoa, what would life look like? And what would life feel like if that wasn't between me and what life really is, it's like, because all this looks real. It feels real. I need to worry about that. They've hurt my feelings in the past. I need to be concerned about that. They're wackadoodles. They're this or that. And it's like, well, wait a minute. If all that just kind of went to the side and I looked.
Yeah.
You see something, you see more of what's, I don't know, more of, you see opportunities really to see life without so much of me in it.
Yeah.
Or so much of what I made up about it.
Yeah. And so then, that place where, Francis, you're working with your art, like, to me, the reason that like that feels the way it does, it's because you're in the moment with your art.
Right.
Right. You're just present with it. You're in the now, so to speak, or, whatever. Well, anytime we pop into that place, into the now, into the present, into like right where we are, life is going to feel that way. And so when there are areas for me in my life that don't feel that way, all I know is that I'm living probably in the future, future or past. And yeah.
Okay. I hadn't thought of it in that way. Wow. That makes a lot of sense. So let me play that back. So when I'm not in my place that I love to be in, and I'm in this other place, and the creativity hasn't expanded to this other place, it may be because I'm either in the past or in the future. And I can do both. Wow. And I skipped the present completely. Even my daughter told me once, but you don't know that's what's going to happen if you do such and such. But oh wow, that makes
Yeah.
I never connected that. I never would have connected that with creativity. Because I've read Eckhart Tolle's book about that, but I haven't connected that with creativity. It was like, okay, I'm either living in the past or I'm living in the future, but I'm not living in the now. It's nothing to do with creativity. But the way you said that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So there's no wonder I can't, or I'm not, expanding the creative part of me into other parts of my life if I'm understanding that correctly.
Right. Yeah, like as we were talking, it came to me like because I was grappling with something today. Sure, will be shocked about this because this never happens, but I was grappling with something about my non-boyfriend boyfriend. And we got into a dynamic today that was oh gosh, if we've been in it once, we've been in it 50 times. And I came onto the call just kind of like thinking, okay, when he lives a long, long way, okay, well, tonight I'm not sending him a message. And, like I had all that because I was completely in the past, but I didn't realize that when I came on the call. But when I started talking, what I realized is, okay, so this is in a relationship. We're not talking about painting and writing. This is a relationship. And I was like, oh, I just am living in the past. Like I'm living 5 days ago, 6 months ago. If I just approach it as like now, I mean, it just took, like I have so much lightness about it. Well, that's easy. I'll be loving. Well, that's simple.
But that's your default setting is loving. When you don't have all that in between you and
right, but like I had all this that I was shoveling around, and so it's like I got an inspiration, like, oh, okay, I know exactly how to be with him. And it's it's in everything. Like I know with my son, I tap into it all the time. But like what I said, sometimes with my mom, I get all in the past, mostly in the past with her. But really, like every moment's fresh and new. And yeah, it's interesting. But we can take that to your point, Francis. Like, yeah, we can take it to any area of life. We can take it to all of life.
Wow.
It's all the same thing.
Mm-hmm. There really are no areas of life, are there, Cherie? But yeah, like we make that up. But we can have that anytime we pierce the veil, so to speak, or just see through what's going on.
Wow. That's going to give me a lot to think about.
Oh, try not to think about any of it. No. Try not to think about any of it. But Francis, and to come back to that part of like, if you understand just the tiniest bit, like to go back to the original point of it may seem real, but it's not real, like I can think about puppies get warm and fuzzy, but I'm not holding one.
Right.
So I mean, it seems real, but it's not real. Even kind of being brought to become alert about that, or being alert that, inspiration is as natural as wind and sun and trees. And it's what happens is like, to me, that's like it cracks the seed. And so from this point forward, you don't need to think about this or try to make sense of it or fit it into anything. That seed now has cracked because you're seeing something completely fresh, completely natural, and it will now start to unfold for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about this. It will unfold for you just by getting a little crack to the heart.
Just by looking at it a little bit. Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
kind of looking in that direction or
even being curious about that direction.
Yep.
Yeah. That's really helpful.
Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking about too, and another one of those little pieces that to play with, and all of this that Kim and I are talking about, another piece to play with is like knowing that what we breathe life into, what passes through our mind, and then what we kind of breathe life into by giving it our attention, it will always come with a feeling. Okay. And that to get used to the fact that it's gonna, my state of mind is gonna come with a feeling. Just like winter comes with cold, summer comes with warm, it's gonna come with a feeling. But in this situation, when it's happening here, that the feeling is real, your body will feel it. But what you're considering, it's like, if it's not happening in front of you, it's not real. It's a real consideration with a real feeling, but in this cold, this is what keeps occurring to me lately. It's like, I can imagine being concerned about my pipes freezing and bursting, and I walk in the house and there's water squirting out of the walls or the ceiling or something, like, and I can have some terror go through me, but that's a very different thing than here's a burst pipe spraying water in my face. I can still, it's like, I have something real I need to deal with versus I don't need to deal with so much of this that feels real, but is not happening.
Right. Okay. How do you stop all of that unreal stuff? You just pay attention to what's real. Is that what?
Well, I think you kind of start to realize, again, it's kind of waking up to, well, it can feel real and not be. That's kind of a little nugget of helpfulness to me. Is like, yeah, it can feel, I can have a full body experience.
Yeah.
because, and it's like, how could it feel real and not be? It's like, well, it can.
Mm-hmm. And when you start to see it's not real, like really see that, then there would be, if you really see it's not real, there's no reason to do anything about it.
Okay, that's the one thing I know is why I'm on this call. That was now I know why.
I love
I
it.
wanted to understand that. I'm not there yet, but
Yeah.
Oh, me too. No, me too. I mean, I see more and more of it, but
Yeah.
it's that unfolding that is working on my behalf, you know, because I'm kind of curious about that impossible person, you know. I'm quite certain they're impossible and that's real. And it's like, well, you know, because I feel rotten. It's like, well, my state of mind is dictating my feelings of rottenness. This person is just another being on the planet. I don't know if I can't blame that person for how I'm feeling.
really? I couldn't blame that person for how I'm feeling.
Yeah, no, like it's
Okay.
yeah, it's so and the thing is, Francis, none of us are ever going to see what we're talking about 100% of the time.
Nope.
We're just not. So it's not striving for like being perfect in it. It's just realizing that the feeling we live in it sometimes has no connection to reality at times, you know, and that's just, again, that's just something good to know. Like I just used to always navigate my entire life by my feelings, you know, and then, you know, things wouldn't work out so well, but I didn't really understand why. Well, I was navigating a lot of times by feelings that they weren't accurately telling me about my situation. They were just telling me that, okay, you've kind of gone down a rabbit hole in your mind and you're going to feel it. But I didn't know that then, you know, and now I have a little better handle on that.
You know, Francis, not like you were just saying about, wait a minute, they're not to blame for how I feel. Because have you ever met somebody that really wanted you to like them and you just don't?
Right.
Oh, it's so annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like, well, they can't make me like them and they can't make me hate them. You know what I mean? That all comes from in here. It's nothing they're doing, because they could be showering you with gifts and flowers and you're like,
It took me years to kind of, well, I thought about it and I thought, wow, this person has never did anything to me. I don't even know this person, but you know, and it's like, why do I don't want to be a part of and this nice, very nice person, but
which points back to like, well, God, it's all coming from here, not to here.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of double tagged you, Francis, on
yes.
on your, but I think it's a bonus round. It's a bonus round for me, for Kim to get to me.
It's awesome.
It's been a really good double tag.
I love it.
Really needed that.
So, anything for you, Francis, that could be helpful for us to look at a little bit more before we just kind of bring our conversation to a close around anything? It doesn't have to be about the topic of it feeling real, even though it's not real, but anything that would just kind of help you just settle in a little bit more.
No, I'm sure there is, but
But if it's not on the top of your mind, don't worry about it. I just didn't
Yeah, I
believe you would
can't
not leave
articulate
in.
anything right now. Anything. I'm just, yeah.
Wonderful. Kim, do you have anything to bring our conversation to a close? Or
Well, I've loved what we talked about. I think it's been a really rich conversation. Yeah, no, I guess as I'm sitting here, I'm just reflecting on kind of the two main points, really, which were we live in a sea of inspiration and a flow of inspiration, and to continue looking that way, we're going to keep seeing that it won't dry up. Mm-hmm. And then the second big point is a lot of what we experience as real isn't real. And well, the minute we get that, it brings us back to here. Yeah.
Yeah. But it can bring real feelings.
Mm-hmm.
It can bring real feelings of whatever the range of emotion is a human being can have. But that range of emotion is kind of a personal feedback system that tells me where my head's been hanging out. You know what I mean? Not how the world is, but just kind of if my mind's been busy or I have a lot on my mind, I'm going to have a different feeling about life. Mm-hmm. And that's what's bringing the feeling, not the circumstances in my life. But the feelings are real. What I'm concerned with may not be real, but what I am feeling in my body will be a real emotion or an upset stomach or this or that, but it follows what I was considering up here.
Right. So the circumstances that's up here in my head were thoughts, and they're usually okay. I get it. They're past or future
or random.
Right.
Yeah, they can be random.
So what real is what's in front of me, is what's in the now.
Well,
all we got, right? Like that's all we got.
Right. Okay.
But I'll even say kind of real, Francis, with a factual quality to it. Computer, table, person. When it turns into being my mom, you know what I mean? Anytime you put some me starts to bleed into the facts, it's the real, you're kind of diluting the real in a way, you know what I mean? Because it's like anytime I have more of me in the equation, I'm going, ooh, it might be a little distorted. If I got a whole lot of me in here, it might be distorted. Might be, just to leave the crack open versus an absolute.
Okay.
Yeah, real is really, I like that. Real is really very subjective, you know? If I'm in a good mood, real looks one way. If I'm in a bad mood, real looks another way. If I'm in a good mood, good state of mind, challenges don't look like a big deal at all. If I'm in a low state of mind, you know, getting out of bed is a big deal. So real is kind of has that fluid quality to it too, other than the facts. It's a funny game, this thing called life. I mean, it's fast.
Oh, it really is.
It is. I'm not sure how anybody could be bored with all this going on in this one little container, you know?
One of my granddaughters who just turned 21, she says, oh, this grown-up thing is tough.
That's cute.
That is it.
That is cute.
Yeah.
Love it. I love
I
it.
do too. I do too.
Wonderful.
Well, beautiful. Well,
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, this
you.
has been great.
Oh,
been
thank you
great.
so
Good to
much
see
for
you.
joining us.
Oh, wow. This has been, it's so nice to meet you, Kim.
So
And
nice to meet you,
oh,
Francis.
wow. I just love your quote. I just love that.
Isn't she a treasure?
I love it.
Yeah, I wrote
love
that
it.
down.
I might have to put that one on Facebook.
I think that's a good one. Quote yourself and post it, Kim.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love
Wow, it's so good to see you, Cherie. Wow.
it. So we're going to play again on the 22nd of February. So if you're around, dial back in.
Okay,
Yeah.
I certainly will.
I love it.
Let us know if anything fresh shows up between.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love that.
All right.
I certainly
Ciao
will.
for now.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.